Assalamu alaikum. So yesterday we were talking about normal distribution, that when you collect any data from the field, it follows normal distribution. And what do we mean by normal distribution? That when you plot the frequency distribution curve, it shows a symmetrical shape with one peak in the middle. It has zeros at the zero y ordinate at the start and at the end. And the data which shows that is normally distributed data. And why did we want to have normally distributed data? Because then we know the characteristics of the data. And secondly, we talked about standard normal distribution, so which was represented with Z, letter Z, and it was a fixed distribution that has a mean of 0 and variance of 1. And we can convert any distribution into Z distribution by using this equation, the one which you can see at the bottom of the slide. Okay, so now let us look at some more characteristics about normal distribution and how we can apply the Z distribution to our data. First thing is precision and confidence interval. The first thing or the most important thing about any data which you collect is its precision and confidence level. So precision means how much error you are expecting in the observations, right? This is precision. So less error means high precision and vice versa. Now error can be, or a representative of the error is standard deviation. If you say that mean is the representative value of the data, mean is the actual value. If I ask you, okay, you collected the speed, how much was the speed? What would you tell me? You would tell me the average value, the mean value. So mean is taken as a representative value of the data. And what is standard deviation? It is the average difference from the mean. Okay, so the difference from the mean, if mean is representative of the data, then difference from the mean is an error in the value, right? In the individual values, how much error is there, that is equal to standard deviation. Okay, now that error, that is standard deviation, is for a sample, I want my sample to represent the whole population. Okay, and in terms of this lecture, or in terms of this course, we are talking about speed. So I want my data, the data sample of the samples of speed which I have collected, to represent or to give me an idea about the speed of all the driver population, the whole driver population which will pass from this point. So I cannot take the data for each and every driver who is passing from that point. It is virtually impossible. Okay, so I have to rely on the sample. But how can I use the sample to give me the precision of, or how can I calculate the precision of my sample with regards to the population of the data? Okay. So you will not rely on the standard deviation, because standard deviation will give you the average difference from the mean of the sample itself. But I want how much is the error expected from the mean speed of all the drivers, of the entire driver. Okay, so that will be calculated capital E. What is capital E? In some books they call it a standard error, and if you look here, they are defining it as a standard deviation for a distribution of means. So for a distribution of samples, more than one sample, right? More than one sample. Samples, means so one sample has one mean. So when I say means, that means I am talking about number of samples. So if you collect more than, like if you repetitively do the collection of data from the same location, then how much error can you expect from your sample? That is equal to capital E, standard error or standard deviation for a distribution of means. So this is basically standard deviation for the entire population. In simple words, this is standard deviation for the entire population of drivers. Okay. So standard deviation for a sample was represented with S, okay, which you can see here. So to calculate S, I need, so to calculate E, I need S, which is the standard deviation for a sample, and I need N here. N means number of values in the sample. So if you go back to the previous example, we had 368 values in the sample. Okay, so N will become, for the previous example, 368. If you apply this to your project data, then N will be 62. We collected 62 values, right? So the value of E will give me how much precision or how much error can I expect from my sample with regards to or with reference to the entire population of drivers. Okay, so E is the expected error, or the the expected error from this sample compared to the mean of the entire population. Okay, so from the mean of the entire population, how much error can there be in this sample? Okay, so that is capital E. Then there's another. So this is everything which we are discussing is considering the fact that my distribution follows normal distribution. My speed data is following normal distribution. If it is not following normal distribution, then these things, with these equations, these properties will not work. Okay. So first thing we talked about is precision, which is represented with the value of the error, which is capital E. Acceptable, the error, the not acceptable, expected error. Okay. Second thing is something related to normal distribution. It's a theorem which we call as a central limit theorem. Every normal distribution follows, every normal distribution can be applied with a theorem which is called as central limit theorem. According to central limit theorem, 95% of the entire population, 95% of the entire population lies within a range of mean plus minus 1.96 standard deviations. Okay, mean plus minus 1.96 standard deviations. So it is written in mathematical form here. X bar is what? Mean 1.96 is a factor which I told you, 1.96 times standard deviation. Now I'm talking about the entire population. So I will take the standard deviation for the entire population, right? E. I will not take S here. If you take S, if I replace E with S, this will give me 95% values for what? Sample, not the entire population. Okay, if you use E, then it is for the entire population. Okay, so 95% of all the values which are in that data set, they lie within this range, X bar plus minus 1.96 E. Okay, and if you apply this statement to our data, which is the speed data, that means 95% of drivers are driving within this range. So only 5% drivers are driving out of this range, which is X bar plus minus 1.96 E. Okay, so this is one part of central limit theorem. The other part of central limit theorem is 99.7% of all values. So 99.7%, you can imagine it's almost 100%, right? So 99.7% of all values within a range of X bar plus minus 3 times, again, standard deviation, and I will take the standard deviation of the population, which is E. So X bar plus minus 3 times E will give you 99.7% values, or the range for 99.7% values. Okay, or again applying to the speed data, it will give me the range of speed for 99.7% drivers. Okay. Now if you apply, if you want to calculate the range of speed for the previous example, the one which we were solving yesterday, then first of all I will calculate E. So E for that example, or E is S upon root of n. Okay, so S, which is standard deviation, was calculated as 6.14. We calculated yesterday, and n, which is the number of values in that data, was 368. There were 368 vehicles observed in that data set. So 6.14 upon root of 368 will give you E as 0.32 miles per hour. 0.32 miles per hour. X bar, which we calculated last week, the mean speed was 48.2 miles per hour. 48.2 miles per hour. So if you are calculating 95% confidence, 95% range of values, 95% the range of speed for 95% drivers, then it will be this. Okay, so 95%, range will be 48.2, which is the mean, plus, or you can start with a minus sign, okay, minus 1.96 E. So E is calculated to be 0. Which is it? 0.32. So 0.32. Okay. And so this will give the lower limit of the range, and if you want the upper limit, then it will be 48.2 plus 1.96 0.32. Okay. So this range comes out to be 47.57 and 48.83. Lower limit is 47.57 with minus, and upper limit is 48.83 when you do the plus. Okay, and if you want to calculate 99.7%, then the only change will be, instead of doing 1.96 E, you will do 3 times of E. So I will just put it here in 1.962. Okay, and it will give you the 99.7% range, so which is 47.24 and 49.16. So 95% drivers are driving in the range of 47.57 and 48.3, and 99.7% drivers are driving within the range of 47.24 and 49.16 from the entire population of drivers. If you apply this to the values which we got from the sample, you will say that the values are going up to 66. How can 99.7% drivers are driving in this small range? No, we are talking about the entire range of population, entire range of drivers. Okay, so for most of the drivers are driving in this range. Okay, there are very few which are out of this range compared to the entire population. Okay, now these ranges are what we call as confidence intervals. Confidence intervals. Okay, and the percentage of population which you are covering is known as confidence level. Confidence level. Okay, so we have a confidence level. What is confidence level? The percentage of population you are covering in your range. Okay, so if you are covering 95%, then your confidence level is 95%. If you are covering 99.7%, then your confidence level is 99.7%. And these ranges is what we call as confidence interval. Confidence interval. So every confidence level has a range of values, and that will be called as a confidence interval. Okay. So what is the confidence interval for 95%? That is 47.57 and 48.83. Okay. So this why we are calling confidence level and confidence interval, because this is how sure I am about getting these values. Okay. So for example, if you take this range 47.57 and 48.83, I am 95% confident that if you take a sample from the field, you will have a value within this range. I'm 95% confident. Okay, so I am leaving out how many? How much? 5%. 95% is covered, so 5% is left. So there is 95% chance that my speed or the mean speed will be from this range. Okay, so this is why we call it confidence level, because this is the how confident I am about getting these values or getting a value within this range. Okay, now whenever you go on for collection of data, you collect data, you apply the method, and you collect the number of values as per your required precision and confidence level. This is what you normally do. For example, I want to collect or I want to measure the angle between two lines. Okay, and I want a precision of 0.01 degree. Okay, there's an instrument available in the office, and if I measure the angle with that instrument, the precision of that instrument is 0.1 degree. Okay, so should I use this instrument? If I want that, if my required precision is 0.01 degree, I will not use that instrument, right? So your data collection depends upon precision and confidence interval. So you must know how many values you should collect from the field, okay, to have a required level of precision and confidence interval. Okay, so let us see how we can relate the number of values you are going to collect in the field with these concepts, with the concept of precision and confidence interval. Now for your project, I have already applied the equation which I am going to show you in the next slide, and I calculated the values as 62. Okay, so I already applied the equation, you don't have to do it again. So the 62 is already a calculated value. Anyways, moving on. Now before I go for the calculation of number of samples, you must understand something. As I said, X bar is a representative of the data. Okay. If I want to cover 95% population, then how much I am willing to go far from X bar? 1.96 E, right? So 1.96 E is what? My tolerance level. The error I am willing to accept in order to cover 95% population, right? The error I am willing to accept in order to cover 95% population. Okay, so 1.96 E will become the tolerance level or the acceptable error or the precision, the required precision, if you want to cover 95% population. Okay, and similarly, if you want to cover 99.7% population, if your confidence level is 99.7%, then how much error you are willing to accept? 3 times of E. 3 times of E, right? So 3 times of E will become your acceptable error or tolerance level or required precision. Okay, so this is what we are going to apply here. So first of all, select the confidence level. As per your confidence level, you will have a small e. What is small e? Either 1.96 E or 3 times of E, depending upon your confidence level. Okay, and E, I know the equation for E, right? So E equals S upon root of N. So a small e, the precision, required precision, or the tolerance level or acceptable error equals 1.96 into S upon root of N. Now I want to calculate N. So N will go to the left hand side and E will come to the right hand side. And since N is in under root, so I will do the square. So when you do the square, root will go off and all the other terms will be squared. So when you do the square of 1.96, it will become 3.84. S will become S square and E will become E square. Okay. Same thing for 99.7% confidence level. So your acceptable error is small e, which is equal to 3 times of E, capital E. So E is S upon root of N. And again, you send N to the left hand side, bring E to the right hand side and do the square. So under root of N will become N. 3 will become 9 square of 3 and S square upon E square. Okay. So if you want to calculate number of samples, required number of samples for your data, then you use one of these two equations. Okay, depending upon your confidence level. So before you go in the field, decide how much confidence level you want and decide what would be your required precision or tolerance level. Okay, and then you calculate the number of samples and then you collect those samples. So I already assumed some of these values and I calculated number of samples to be 62. First of all, I assumed 95% confidence level, and then I assumed the value of E and S and gave you number of samples as 62. Okay. Let us do an example to see the effect of E and S on, E and confidence level on the number of samples. Okay. So we want to find out how many speeds should be collected. So we want to find out number of samples. So that the true mean speed, meaning the actual mean speed of the distribution, is within plus minus 1 mile per hour. Okay, so this is my tolerance level precision. Okay, how do I know that? First of all, it is given with a plus minus sign. Okay, and it has the same units as the speed, so it must be the error. Okay, so if number of values are given in the question and you are confused which one is the error, which one is the standard deviation, and so on, then error or the precision or the tolerance level is always given with the plus minus sign. It is always given with the plus minus sign. Okay, this is an indication. It may be written directly as well. In this case, they did not write it directly, but in some other question, I may become generous and I may write that the precision level is this much. Okay, so precision level means the tolerance or the error, and it is given with a plus minus. And so they want me to calculate the number of speeds for an error of plus minus 1 mile per hour with confidence level of 95%. Okay, and then they want me to see the change in result if you change the tolerance to plus minus 0.5 miles per hour. So see, in this case, they have directly written 0.5 miles per hour is what? Tolerance. Okay, so sometimes it's easy, sometimes we have to identify what they are talking about. And confidence level 99.7%. So first of all, calculate the value with 1 mile per hour with 95% confidence, and then change the values by changing the value of tolerance and confidence level. Okay. So I prepared this matrix which you can see here. Okay, so these are the values of E, small e, the tolerance level, and these are the values for the confidence level, and these are the equations. So the basic equation for 95% confidence level is 3.84 s square upon e square. Okay, so 3.84, and s is given as 5 here. They have used s value as 5. Now s is standard deviation. Do I have a standard deviation here? No. Why not? Because I still have not collected the sample. So before collecting the sample, how can I calculate standard deviation? Standard deviation is not available. So the general rule is whenever standard deviation is not available, you will assume it to be 5. Whenever standard deviation is not available, you will assume it to be 5 miles per hour. Okay, so assumed value of standard deviation is always 5 miles per hour. Okay, and E is already given, so there are no more unknowns here. So for E of 1 and 95% confidence level, I should collect 96 samples. And if I want to reduce the error to 0.5, then I should collect 384 samples. And then for E of 1, the number of samples with 99.7% is 225, and with 0.5 error, the number of samples is 900. Okay. Now, a couple of things you must you can observe here. First of all, how the values are changing. So when I increase the confidence level, the values increase. So I should collect more samples if I want to cover a larger population of the driver, which makes sense, right? You want to cover more population, more proportion of drivers, cover more samples, you take more samples. Okay. And similarly, when I reduce the error, reducing error means precision is increasing. So when you reduce error from 1 to 0.5, again the values are increasing. Okay, so you see in the first column 96 to 384 and 225 to 900. Okay. So if you want to have more precision in your data or less error in your data, then you must take more values. Okay. So whenever you are increasing the confidence level or reducing the error, you have to increase the number of samples. Okay. And how many they should be, you can calculate it from these equations. Now, one more thing, which is the standard deviation. Okay, so standard deviation, assume you calculated the number of samples, and then you went to the field and you calculated and you collected, but the standard deviation which you assumed is not what you will actually get from the data set. Okay, so you have to perform a check once the samples are collected. So for example, I took this value 225, confidence level 99.7%, error 1. Okay, assumed standard deviation 5 miles per hour. I went to the field, I collected 225 samples. Now, since I have the samples now, I can calculate the standard deviation of these samples. So you calculate the standard deviation. Now it comes out to be 4 point something. Okay, so that means my assumed value is not correct. It will not be correct in most of the cases. You cannot get a value exactly equal to a 5. Okay, for most of the samples, the value will not be exactly equal to 5. So there will be some difference. In some cases, the difference can be more. In some cases, the difference can be less. But there will be some difference. Now, what to do about that? So you take the actual value of standard deviation, which you have calculated from the collected samples, and you put it again in this equation. So I will replace 5 with the actual value. Now let's say when I recalculate n with the actual value of s, I get 220 samples. N comes out to be 220. Now 220, and you have collected how many? 225. So you have collected more than required. Fine, no problem. Stop here. Nothing. There is no work to be done after that. Okay, the speed sample here finalized. But what if I require 250 samples? So I collected 225 and I require 250 samples. So how many do you require more? 25. So you go to the field and collect the remaining 25 samples. Okay, you collect the remaining 25 samples. Okay, so this is how it is done. So it's you have to perform a trial first with 5 standard deviation, 5 miles per hour standard deviation. You get the samples, you collect those samples, and then you recalculate n, and you check if you have collected the required value or more than that, then you are fine. If you have collected less, then you go again and take the remaining values. Okay, so this is how it should be done. Now I told you at the start of the chapter that one of the applications of, or one of the uses of spot speed data is to find out the effectiveness of improvements on the road. So you made some improvement on the road to reduce the speed, okay, or to increase the speed, whatever the case is. Okay, so you provided a new speed hump, or you installed a new traffic camera, or you did something. Now your objective was to reduce the speed. Okay, so your objective was to reduce the speed to, for example, 90 kilometers per hour. It was 100. Now we want to reduce it to 90 kilometers per hour. Okay. So you will do a before and after study. Before putting the speed hump or the improvement, you will do a study. You will take some speed samples, and then after putting the speed hump, you will do, or after making the improvement, you will do another study on the same location. So you will collect spot speed data twice. One before the improvement, one after the improvement. Okay, and then you will compare between these two samples. Now for the comparison, I will show you a method. But to apply this method, we have to fulfill two conditions, two criteria. The first condition is both samples are coming from the same distribution. And which distribution is that? What is the name of that distribution? Normal distribution. Okay, and we already know that both speed samples would be from normal distribution, because this is a property of spot speed data, that it is from normal distribution data if you have enough sample sizes. If you have enough sample size, I told you earlier as well, if you are collecting only 3 samples, then you cannot say this data follows, these 3 samples will follow normal distribution. These samples, you cannot draw a curve with 3 samples. So you must have enough number of values, enough, you must have taken speed for enough vehicles, enough number of vehicles to claim that this sample will follow normal distribution. Okay, so how to calculate the number of samples? I already showed you the equation, but they have given me a minimum value here. Minimum is 30 in the before sample, and in the after sample the sample size should be 30 at least. Okay, so you cannot collect less than 30 samples before or after. So 30 is not a combined value. 30 means collect 30 or more before and then collect 30 or more after as well. Okay, so both data samples should be at least 30 or more. Okay, how many they should be exactly, you will go back to the equations of sample size and calculate the sample size. Okay, after you are done with the before and after study and you get the data from the field, you will try to answer 2 questions. What are the 2 questions? First question is, did we achieve a significant difference in the mean speed before and after? As I keep on telling you, mean is a representative value, right? So whenever I'm comparing between 2 data samples before and after, I'm basically comparing between their means. So do I have a significant difference in the mean speed of the before sample and the after sample? Okay, now I tell you, for example, the mean speed before was 47, the mean speed after is 46. Is it a significant difference? Now, let's say someone may say yes, someone may say no. Okay, for example, let me take some names. Do we have a question? E is given, or you can assume. E is given or you can assume. Okay, because this is the standard error, the acceptable error which you want. So how much error you can afford, how much error you are willing to accept, that will be E. Okay, so E depends upon you. You want more precise data, you will select a lower value of E. You want less precise data, you will select a higher value of E. For calculating your sample size 62, I selected a high value because I'm not expecting precise data from you. Jokes apart, okay, you are students, okay, you still have to polish your skills. Okay, so I just wanted to take some names. So for example, I present this difference 47 and 46 to Ali, and he says Doctor, this difference is not significant. 1 mile per hour is not a difference. It's not a significant difference. And then I present this the same difference to, let's say, Amna, and she says, Doctor, 1 mile per hour is a lot in terms of speed. Okay, so there can be difference of opinion. Now you cannot join. What should I do? I'm not sure. Let me try something else. Okay, see how hard I have to work to get you into the class, right? Even during the class. Okay, so you cannot leave the decision that is significant or not on a person, because their opinion will differ. Okay, so as we discussed in the first chapter as well, you have to perform due care. You cannot make decisions based upon your personal judgment. You have to apply some mathematical method, some mathematical equations to make sure that everybody is getting the same answer, right? And this is not so good for the exam, but this is what should happen in the field. If you are analyzing the data, or I'm analyzing the data, if you are analyzing the same data, then we should be getting to the same answers. Okay, so the question was, the difference in mean speed before and after is same or not, and to prove that we have a test which is known as a Z test. Okay, so Z is what I told you yesterday. Z is a standard normal distribution. Okay, and for performing the Z test, you will use these two equations. First of all, you will calculate SY, which I call as a combined standard deviation. You use it. You will calculate using this equation. So in this equation, we have S1, which is a standard deviation for the before sample, N1, which is the number of values in the before sample. We have S2, which is a standard deviation in the after sample, and N2, which is the number of values in the after sample. So you calculate SY, and then you put it in this equation, which is x1 bar minus x2 bar minus 0 upon SY. What is x1 bar? This is the mean speed in the before sample. What is x2 bar? Mean speed after sample. What is SY? Combined standard deviation. What is 0? 0 is the assumed difference between x1 bar and x2 bar. So I'm assuming at the start of the test, I'm assuming that x1 bar and x2 bar are exactly same. So their difference will be what? 0. Okay, so every statistical test starts with an initial assumption. So my initial assumption is what? X1 bar and x2 bar are equal, and they call it the null hypothesis. This initial assumption, the initial claim, is called as the null hypothesis. Okay, so what is my null hypothesis? X1 bar and x2 bar are exactly same. Okay, and I am performing the Z test to check my claim, to check the null hypothesis. Now once you calculate the Z value, I told you Z is standard normal distribution, and for standard normal distribution I have a table. Okay, the table is available in almost all the books of traffic engineering and statistics. Okay, so now I will check the Z value from the table, and I will apply a criteria. Okay, the criteria is that table, which I will show in the next slide. That table will tell you what is the chance, the probability of this Z value to happen. Whatever Z value you calculate, what is the chance that this Z value will happen in a standard normal distribution. Okay, if that chance or probability is 95% or more than 95%, that means there is significant difference between x1 bar and x2 bar. Okay, so this will disprove my claim. Okay, so what is the rule? Calculate the ZD value, then go to the ZD table, find out its probability or chance of happening. If that probability or chance is equal to 95% or more than 95%. So 95 means what? 0.95, right? 0.95 means 95%. So if Z value has a chance of 95% of more to have to occur, then the difference between x1 bar and x2 bar is significant, and vice versa. If the probability or the chance is less than 95%, then the difference between x1 bar and x2 bar is almost zero, no significant difference. Okay. Now let us see how to read the table of Z. Let us assume a value. Let's say I calculate the Z value using these two equations. It comes out to be 1.05. 1.05. Just an example. So for an example, Z value is calculated to be 1.05. I go to the Z table. This is a Z table. Okay. In the first column and the top row, you will see the Z value, and the remaining rows and columns are the probabilities or the chance of these Z values. Okay. Chance that these Z values will occur. So my Z values was 1.05. How to read this chart? Number before the decimal place and the first digit after the decimal place will be taken from the first column. So if the value is 1.05, so the first digit before the decimal is 1 and the first digit after the decimal is 0. So 1.0. So 1.0 will be taken from the first column. So 1.0 is here. See this one, 1.0. The second decimal place will be taken from the top row. So 1.05, the second decimal place is 0.05. So 0.05 will be taken from here. Okay. So this row and this column, 1.05. Now when you come here, 1.05 is this value. Okay, so the probability of having 1.05 value is 0.8531. The probability that you have a value of 1.05 will be 0.8531. Okay, so 85%, meaning 85%, right? So there is 85% chance that your Z value can be 1.05. What was my limit? 95%. My limit was 95%. It is less than 95%, so the difference between x1 bar and x2 bar in this case is not significant. Okay. Let us do a couple of examples. So this is how you read the Z table. First of all, find out the number before the decimal place and the first digit after the decimal place from the first column and the second decimal place from the first row, and then you look at the intersection point and you take the probability. If this probability is 95% or more, then you have achieved significant difference, otherwise you did not. Okay, so this is the first thing you will do. Second thing is, whenever you apply some improvement, you are looking at a target. Okay, you are looking at a target. Your target is to achieve some number in the end, some reduced speed in the end. So how much reduction you want exactly? Okay, so the first question is, did I achieve a significant reduction? If yes, then how much did you achieve the required reduction or not? It is significant, but it is not up to the required mark, then still you have failed. Okay, so the second question is, did you achieve the required reduction in speed or not? So you wanted to bring the speed from 100 kilometers per hour to 90 kilometers per hour. Okay, but I did not achieve 90 kilometers per hour. That means the required reduction is not achieved. So still I should do more on this side to bring the required reduction, to bring it equal to the required reduction. Now this question will only be considered if the answer to the first question is yes. What was the first question? Do I have a significant difference between the means of the before and after sample? If yes, then you answer this second question, that did I achieve the required reduction or not. If the answer to the first question is no, then obviously you did not achieve the required reduction, right? If you did not achieve any significant difference, how can you achieve the required reduction? The required reduction will come after significant difference. If you are still at the same value, which is the before mean, the before sample mean, then how can you achieve the required reduction? Okay. So in order to go for the second question, in order to go or check that did I achieve the required reduction, I must have a significant difference in the before and after sample. If I do not, then the answer to the second question is automatically no. Okay, I did not achieve the required value. Let us look at a couple of examples. A before and after study is done. The results are given here. X bar standard deviation, number of samples, they are given here. This is for before sample, this is for after sample, and they have they were trying to reduce the speed by putting a new speed limit sign. Okay, so they were assuming that the drivers are like angels and they will reduce the speed since they see a new speed limit sign. Okay, and which usually does not happen, right? If you look at the new speed limit sign and you reduce the speed on the same road, I don't think so. How much reduction they wanted to achieve? 60. So the earlier was 65 and they wanted to achieve after 60 miles per hour. Okay, so the required reduction is to bring the speed close to 60 miles per hour. Okay, so I have to first of all apply the z-test to find out if there's a significant difference in the reduction or significant reduction in the speed or not. Okay, so the equations, right? Z and Sy. Applying, if you calculate Sy, then S1 is 65.3, N1 is 50. Sorry, S1 is 5 standard deviation, N1 is 50, and S2 is 6, and N2 is 60. Okay, so you calculate Sy, it comes out to 1.05 miles per hour. Then you calculate Zd, so you put the value of Sy, 1.05, X1 bar 65.3, X2 bar 63 miles per hour. Okay, you calculate Zd. Zd comes out to be 2.19. Then you go to the Z table and find out what is its probability or chance. Again, 2.1 will be taken from the first column, so 2.1 is here, and then 0.09, 2.19, right? So the second decimal place is 0.09. So 0.09 means the last column. Okay, so 2.19. Okay, so this row, and the last column. So the probability of 2.19 is 0.9857, 0.9857, which means 98.57%, which is more than 95%. So what is the answer to the first question? Did I achieve a significant difference in the mean speed of before and after sample? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, I did achieve a significant difference between the mean speed of before and after samples. Okay. Now, second question, did I achieve the required reduction? How much was the required reduction? 60. Now you look at the mean of the after sample. I wanted to achieve 60 in the after sample, right? So now I'm talking about the after sample. So is the mean speed of the after sample 60? No. So should I say I did not achieve? No. Because why? Because it's a sample. It's a sample. Maybe the mean of this sample is high, but the overall drivers are close to 60. The overall driver population is driving close to 60. So how do I find the range of overall driver population? By calculating confidence interval. By calculating confidence interval. Okay. So in the second, for answering the second question, I will calculate confidence interval for the entire range of population. Okay. Not like I will calculate confidence interval for the population. Okay, and I told you earlier, for calculating confidence interval, you must fix confidence level as well. Default confidence level is 95%. By default, we want to cover 95% population. This is the default value. Okay, but if you want, you can increase it as well, but we don't decrease it. Like you can go up to 99.7% as well. And if you take center limit theorem from where we started these things, you can even have a confidence interval for 66% population as well, but it is not required. Okay, usually the required is 95%. If you want to increase it, you may increase it to 99.7%. Okay, but you can see that there was no confidence interval for 100% population, because 100% is not achievable. You cannot cover 100% data. This is real-time traffic data. Real-time traffic data will always have some exceptions. Okay, so if somebody comes and says, I have collected 100% data, he is lying. Okay, so there are always some exceptions and you cannot cover all the exceptions. This is how Allah has designed this world. You cannot cover 100% population. There are always some exceptions. This is his qudra, right? So I will calculate 95%, because in the question they did not mention any range of confidence level. So I will take the default value, which is 95% confidence level. So this is how you calculate 95% confidence level, right? X bar plus minus 1.96 E. Which X bar I'm talking about? In the after sample, right? X bar of the after sample, because before sample is done. I want to achieve 60 miles per hour in the after sample. Okay, so I need to calculate E as well, and E is S upon root of N. Okay, where S is what? Standard deviation. So standard deviation is 6, N is number of samples 60, X bar is 63. So you calculate E comes out to be 0.7746, and mu, the range for mu, which is the confidence interval, is 61.48 and 64.52. So how did I get 61.48? 63 minus 1.96 into 0.7746. Okay, so you get 61.48. And when you do 63 plus 1.96 into 0.7746, you will get 64.5. Okay, so this is the confidence interval for the after sample. Now my required value was 60. Is 60 coming in this range? No. So this range is representing how many, what proportion of drivers? 95%. And 60 is outside that. So whatever is outside this range is part of how much population? How much proportion? 5%, right? This range covers 95%. So what is not covered? 5%. So there is less than 5% chance that you can achieve a speed of 60 miles per hour, or there is less than 5% chance that drivers are driving at a speed or near a speed of 60 miles per hour, which is very low, right? Less than 5% is very, very low. So we will say the answer to the second question is we did not achieve the required reduction in speed. We did not achieve the required value of 60 miles per hour, because having a speed of 60 miles per hour or having drivers driving close to 60 miles per hour has a chance of even less than 5%, which is unacceptable. So we will say we did not achieve the required reduction because it has a chance of less than 5%. Okay, let me show you another example. It's a repetition. Most of the things are repeated. Okay, so we have a series of rumble strips. So what are rumble strips? You may have seen these yellow strips which are installed close to the intersections, close to the signals. Okay, across the road. Okay, across the road, not the yellow line for the shoulder. I'm talking about the yellow strips which you have across the road near to the signals. Okay, so when you go on signals on maybe Sakhlal Highway or Rifa Avenue or Sheikh Salman Highway, near the signals you will see these yellow lines. So these lines are known as rumble strips. So these rumble strips, you know, they provide some vibration to you. They cause your vehicle to vibrate or jump, and you have the warning and reduce the speed. Why did they put these rumble strips on the road here? Because they had a toll plaza. What is the toll plaza? It's like a checkpost, and in order to cross the checkpost, you have to pay some money. Okay, so when you go to the causeway, there's a toll plaza there. In order to enter the causeway, you have to pay something. I think it's 2.5 BD or something. Okay, so they want the drivers to reduce the speed before they reach the toll plaza, so they can stop safely. Okay, if they enter or if they come close to the toll plaza at high speed, they may not be able to stop, and it will be dangerous. How much reduction they want? Because of the rumble strips, they want to reduce the speed to 40 miles per hour. Okay, so the rumble strips are installed to have a speed of 40 miles per hour. So you have the before sample and the after sample. Okay, 43.5 mean speed, 40.8 mean speed after, 4.8 standard deviation before, 5.3 standard deviation after, sample size 120 before and 108 after. And you have to do the same thing, find out if you have a significant difference in speed, and then find out if you have achieved the required reduction, which is 40 miles per hour. So we will first of all perform the Z test, find out SY and find out the Z. Okay, so we have the S1 and N1. S1 is 4.8, N1 is 120, S2 is 5.3, N2 is 108. Okay, and then we have calculate SY, and you have the X1 bar and X2 bar as well, which is X1 bar is 43.5 and X2 bar is 40.8. Okay, so SY comes out to be 0.672 and Z comes out to be 4.02. If I go to the Z table, you will see that 4.02 value does not exist here. in this table, because this table has a maximum value of 3.4 and the second decimal place is 0.09. So the maximum value in this table is 3.49. So any value which is more than 3.49 does not have a probability in this table. Okay, but I don't have to worry about it. Probability of any value which is greater than the value of this table will be 100%, meaning 1. Probability or chance of any value to happen more of any value which is more than the value in the table to happen is 1 or 100%. Why I am saying this? Because if you see, when the values are increasing, the probabilities or chances are also increasing. You see, if you go along the row, the numbers are increasing, right? So when the numbers are increasing, the probability is also, when the z value is increasing, the possibility is also increasing. Okay, so the z value is increasing like this, the possibility is also increasing, the probability is also increasing. So when you come to the last value of the table, it's 0.9998, 99.98%. So any value which is more than 3.49 will have a possibility of 100%, more than that, right? More than that, where the value z values are increasing, its possibility or probability is also increasing. Why? Because this table represents cumulative probability. So you know cumulative probability always increases, right? And what is the maximum cumulative probability you can have? 100%. Okay, so whenever you go for a value which is beyond this table, a z value which is not in this table, more than that, then the probability will be 100%. Okay, so 4 point whatever it is, it has a probability of 100% because it is more than 3.49. Okay, so if the probability is more than 100%, that means it is more than 95% as well. So probability is 100%, that means it is more than 95%. So rumble strips achieved a significant reduction in speed between x1 bar and x2 bar. Now I'll go for the second question. Did I achieve 40 miles per hour range, or did I bring the values close to 40 miles per hour or not? So I'll calculate the confidence interval. So the confidence interval is this. Okay, how did I calculate it? You take x bar, which is 40 point something, 1.96 e, and e is s upon root of n. So s was for the after sample 5.3 and n was 108. So you calculate this and the range comes up to be 39.8 and 41.8. Now 40 is within this range, right? 40 miles per hour is within this range. So there is a high chance, because this range represents what? 95% of drivers. So 95% means that there is a high chance, right? 95% population or 95% possibility is a high chance. So there is 95% probability that the drivers are driving close to 40 miles per hour, because 40 is within the calculated range. Okay, so that means there's a high chance that I have achieved my required reduction in speed. So the answer to the second question is yes. Okay, now I will feel confident that I can see from the range that there's a very high chance that the drivers are driving close to 40 miles per hour. So I will say yes, I did achieve the required reduction in speed. Okay, now if there are any questions you can ask me, otherwise I will go for the attendance. Okay, Dua Rabi. Okay, and Amna Rabi. Muhammad Osama. If I mark your attendance, you can leave. Amal Abdullah. Muhammad Noman. Ali Muhammad. Okay, Ali is here. Hakima Ali. Zahra Sayyid Ali. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Abdul Rahman Ibrahim. Salah. Hussam. If I mark your attendance, you can leave, okay? Abu Bakr Ghani. Zahra Riyad. Sorry. Zahra Riyad. Zainab Ali Ahmad. Masht Bashar. Asil Hassan. Ali Mustafa. Laila Ahmad. Hamad Khalid. Hamad. Okay. Abdullah Husamuddin. Latifa Ahmad. Fatma Abdali. Zainab Abdulal. Salman. Isra Abdul Karim. Ali Abdul Razak. Ali Elizabeth Ann. Ali Makki. Ali Makki and then Ibrahim Muhammad. Okay, I think the remaining are from section 1, right? Just check. Zara Riyad is here. Okay, fine. I think everybody done from this section, right? Ibrahim is here. Okay, section 1. Just give me a second. Let me open all the names. Okay. So Dana Yasir and Dana Isa, both. Okay, done. Ahmad Amin. Okay, done. Sorry. And who else? Ali Abdul Razak. Okay, Iman Kamil. Okay. Iman. Okay, so people from section 1 done. Ali, I will just mark you. Okay. If you want, you can leave. Mishal is here. Okay. Else from section 1, Huda Hassan. Iman is done. Huda is done. Mishal is done. Fatma Ahmad. Okay, Fatma done. Dara Ibrahim. Okay. So Ali, I will just mark you. Okay. You can leave if you want. Okay. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah.